invest in and follow principles. That has proved to be pretty successful.
This landlord's going to make almost $2 million over the next 12 years for doing something one time. And that's like residual. This guy's got another 7 retail spaces and he's got 10 stories of apartments above it. And I'm like, man, I'm on the wrong side of the coin, right? I need to own real estate, not broker it.
You start doing deals that are absolutely life-changing, like that put you on the path for intergenerational wealth.
Welcome to the Real Estate Home Runs Podcast. I am your host, Louis Van der Horst. This is a podcast for busy professionals who want to learn about passive income producing strategies that have helped others crush it in the real estate world. Whether you are a new or seasoned real estate investor, this is the podcast for you.
Welcome to the Real Estate Home Runs Podcast. Today's guest is Matt Larson. Matt is a full-time real estate investor with over 14 years of experience. He currently owns over 200 rental properties in his portfolio and is a veteran of turnkey real estate. In addition, he has completed over 1,000 fix and flips, dozens of lease options, and thousands of wholesale deals. Today, he talks with us about how to leverage virtual assistants to grow your business. Welcome to the show.
Matt, thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to be interviewing you and getting to know you more.
I'm glad to be here. It'd be fun to chat with you.
A little background story. I first learned about Matt through Tim Bratz, who was our guest speaker on podcast number 3. If you haven't already listened to it, make sure to check it out. Tim gives us some great golden nuggets. But Matt was sharing about virtual assistants and how virtual assistants can be used to leverage your business. And you mentioned an interesting fact, Matt, and it's that you mentor Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi on flips. Wow. What were some of your biggest takeaways?
Well, first of all, like Tony, he was getting some flack from his critics that he had these amazing events and all these people would show up and he'd fill a stadium and he'd get everybody pumped and they're jumping up and down and they're all excited. And then they leave and they don't have anything to apply it to. So he wanted to find a business that anybody could do and that was a good business to be in. And he chose real estate. The problem was he didn't know single family home real estate investing. So he started doing this big search, looking for the top single family home investor in the country, maybe world, that could teach him how to do single family home investing. And so Tony has access to everybody on the planet, and one person went to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And eventually I got the call to meet him and teach him in a hotel room, a really nice, biggest hotel room I've ever seen in Las Vegas at the Wynn Hotel. And it was pretty cool. One of my biggest takeaways was the dude travels with an entourage. He had a couple personal assistants there, a chef, a chiropractor,
wow,
a personal bodyguard. It was pretty neat. It was a cool experience. But yeah, it's kind of fun to be able to say I taught Tony Robbins. The cool thing is Tony's a really, really sharp, very smart guy. And he never checked his phone once in 3 days that I taught him and literally remembered every single thing that I taught him. So it's pretty cool.
Impressive. How did your real estate journey start?
I tell this story. It's kind of fun to tell, but let me just kind of break it down for you. So I went to high school, went to a small school in Illinois. I'm in Illinois right now. I'm actually at my lake house. Kind of see the lake behind me here. And I grew up in a small town and I was really big into football. And so I'm playing football and everybody's going to college and I just wasn't a student. I didn't get good grades. I didn't study for tests. I didn't do good on my ACT. I got a 19 and somehow, some way I ended up into getting accepted by this school. So I went to college for 1 semester. And after that semester was over, they asked me not to come back. So I left school and I come back home and I told my dad, I'm like, hey, I'm not going back to college. And he's like, well, you're not going to sit at home. You're going to go get a job. So the only place that was hiring at the time was this machine shop. So I go to work at this machine shop making $6 an hour. And I was 19 at the time. And at 26 years old, I meet this girl. And I'm working in a machine shop. I'm coming home every day, just covered head to toe in dirt and grease, not making much money. And the girl that I had met was way out of my league, just came from a wealthy family. I came from a really poor family. She worked in the medical industry, made a lot of money, drove a nice car, paid cash for cars, lived in a nice house. And somehow, some way I pull it off and I start dating this girl. And we dated for 4 years. And after 4 years, we had been dating and this and that. And she comes up to me one day and she says, hey, I want to break up. And I said, why? And she said, well, I want to date somebody with status. I want to date somebody that makes money. And so at that point in time, I'm 30 years old at this point. I had never thought about making money. I didn't know how to make money. I didn't know that you could make money. I came from a poor family and my dad taught me the lessons on money. And those lessons were, if you want to make more money, work more hours. If you want to make more money, work overtime. If you want to make more money, always cash in your vacation for the money. Don't ever take a vacation. Those were the money tips that I was given. So I'm heartbroken at this point. I don't know what to do. I was just miserable and I'm up late one night, stressed out because this girl had left me. And I see this infomercial on TV. And it's about flipping houses. And so I'm watching this. Now, I had never bought a house for myself at this point. My dad always said, never buy a house, always rent, because if something breaks, you don't have to fix it. And so he was very against buying a house. He just didn't think it was a good idea. So I'm watching this infomercial and this looking guy is talking about these houses that are over his shoulder. Like, I flipped that one, made $47,000. I flipped that one, made $32,000. And I'm thinking, and at the end of this, you can do this too with no money down. And I'm thinking, I'm in. Like, I don't have any money and I can do it. I'm in. So I got started in real estate from an infomercial. And at the time, I'd never bought a house and had no experience. My parents had never bought a house. I had never done work on a house. I didn't know anything about houses. And so that's how I got started. And 30 days later, I did my first deal. And
wow, that's pretty quickly.
Yeah. I was naive enough to think that I could do it. Here's the crazy thing. Here's why I think I was successful. One was I believed everything I read. I had never heard of self-help books. At that point, I'd never read a book on self-help. I didn't know what success books were. I didn't even know they existed. All I knew for books was what you got at school. And so when I read the book, just like a textbook at school, you expect them to be telling you the truth. I thought the same exact thing with the book I read. And I just did the work. I just said, do this. And I did that. And 30 days later, I did my first deal. My first year, I did 12 deals. My second year, I did 10 deals. My third year, I did 19 deals. My fourth year, I did 51 deals. And it just started to snowball from there. And of course, I've done over 4,000 deals in my career. And so, yeah, I mean, that's literally how I got started in real estate.
Do you have mentors or coaches or even books that you will recommend?
I believe in mentors. I spend a lot of money on my own education, even to this day. Maybe some people are thinking, man, you've done all these thousands of deals. Why would you need a mentor? You absolutely need a mentor. I'm part of a high level mastermind, but typically I spend between 50 and 100,000 a year just trying to learn from people. I'll pay somebody just to give me an hour of their time. I don't care if it's $10,000. If in that hour I can learn something that can make me a lot of money, I'm absolutely going to do it. So I'm very big on mentorship. I'm very big on masterminds. Books, yes, I've read literally hundreds of books now. There's so many of them, it's hard to name. I went through an evolution when it comes to books. I used to be really big into how-to books. Like, I wanted to know how to do stuff. And I've read a lot of those. And so now I'm a little different. I went through a different evolution. And now I like reading books on success, like stories, like real life, true stories of an entrepreneur that started from zero or wherever they start from and go through and they build big companies. I like books like that, but there's a lot of good books out there. One of my favorites is I like Think and Grow Rich. That's literally like when I bought the infomercial, the books on real estate from the infomercial, it mentioned this book called Think and Grow Rich in that package. So I ended up buying that book and reading it. And I remember I was really mad. I read this book and my world's getting blown away. And I remember being really mad that nobody in my life, I managed to get through 30 years of life and not a single person recommended me to read that book. And I just remember thinking, why? Why would not teachers recommend it? Why wouldn't anybody? Never had it happen. And so that book was kind of the entree into the success world for me. And then I just read so many of them after that. I mean, we could probably have a whole show on just books to read. There's a lot of them out there. Yeah. One of my favorite books also, I had to learn how to sell. I was the guy that showed up every day at the machine shop and didn't want to talk to anybody. I grew up kind of shy, but I'm very introverted. Even to this day, I'm introverted. I'm here at my lake house. I have another house on a golf course like an hour or so away. And I come here because there's nobody here. It's quiet. It's just me by myself. And when I go to the machine shop every day, I wanted to work in the corner where there was nobody else around. And so I realized I needed to be able to learn how to talk to people if I wanted to be in real estate. And I was deathly scared to talk to people. So I read this book called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling, written by Frank Bettker. Great book on sales. It teaches you in that book. Think and Grow Rich and How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success. These books are 100 years old. 80, 90, 100 years old, but they're amazing books and they're easy to read. Recently, some of my favorite reads, I read Shoe Dog. I thought that one was a really good book. I read a lot of deep thinking type books as well. Another good one that I read early on that I really liked was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We could go on and on. There's a lot of them out there, but the main thing is I see a lot of people that brag about how many books they read. And I've been that guy too. There was years I read a couple a week, 100 a year. It's not important to read a lot of books. It's important to read a book and understand the book. You should really study the book. You should make notes. You should take notes while you're reading it. You won't retain that much. Some of these books I've read 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And every time I read it, I learn something new. And so it's important to read a book and just really devour that book and understand it, take notes, make notes, and then apply everything that you learn. That's the most important piece.
It makes sense why you're so passionate about education and providing content to others because of that background and that upbringing. And it's like, school should be teaching this.
They absolutely should. Yeah. So now I do my real estate investment company. We've done thousands of deals. And the cool thing is I'm not really that involved with the day-to-day operations in my real estate business anymore because I've automated the whole thing. We have 13 full-time virtual assistants that work in my real estate business. And I really worked that business into about 5 hours a week for my personal time that I needed to put into it. And so what I did was last year, I decided to start my own real estate education business. So we started that and we've got a lot of very powerful, very detailed, step-by-step products on the real estate investing process and virtual assistants and everything else. So the cool thing is I was able to start that real estate investing education business because I worked my way out of the day-to-day business in my real estate business. So there's a lot of people out there selling real estate education, and a lot of them don't actually do real estate. And that's no secret. A lot of people know that. But I think the real reason behind that is because you can't build a real estate education company and run an actual real estate investing business unless you figure out how to automate the real estate investing business. And so we focused heavily on that over the last decade, and pretty cool that it can run without me. And we buy houses all the time and sell them all the time, and wholesale and fix and flip and all that stuff runs without me ever having to go to the office, which is nice. I can stay here at my lake house
and do these kind of interviews.
That's right. Wouldn't be able to do that otherwise.
Yeah. So walk me through a big picture process of what happens when a lead comes in to how it comes out through that automation and virtual assistants, especially for people in the audience who have never used virtual assistants or are in real estate and want to work on the business.
So first of all, virtual assistants, it's kind of been COVID happened last year and the world all of a sudden went virtual almost overnight. Cool thing was I was already 5 years deep into the virtual assistant world. So you hear that buzzword around a lot now. Getting a virtual assistant to help you is starting to become pretty mainstream. And so to answer your question, a virtual assistant is if they have the right process to follow. Okay, so I'm going to take a step back. Like, I don't want people to just go out and hire a virtual assistant and then fail at it and then say, man, this guy I watched on this podcast was wrong. It actually doesn't work. There's a process behind it. Consider a virtual assistant like a laptop computer, a brand new laptop computer pulled right out of the box. Like I'm sitting here on a Mac computer, and imagine you pull a Mac computer, you spend a couple $1,000s on it, you pull it out of the box. It's the best computer in the world. It's the fastest, it has the best graphics, it has the highest speed, memory, all that stuff. Now, you put an average computer programmer on that Mac computer that doesn't really understand how to write good code. Let's say you wanted them to write a quick little code to do something on the computer and create a function. And that computer programmer doesn't really know what they're doing. So he writes the program, he gets all done, he presses enter, and the program crashes and doesn't work. Now, let me ask you, is the fact that the computer program crashed the computer's fault or the actual code that was written into the computer? Well, we know it's the code. The code was bad, right? So the same thing with virtual assistants. If you take a virtual assistant and give them a bad process, a process that is not working right, a process that is broken, then that virtual assistant will fail. What most people don't realize is it's not the virtual assistant's problem. It was the bad process. You can't just hire a virtual assistant and say, go do me some marketing and bring me in some leads. Like, they have to know what to do step by step by step without missing a single detail. So with that said, I focused all my effort on the processes. Okay. I focused all my effort on building the perfect processes that I could hand off to a VA. They could read the process, follow the directions, and I got a repeatable result every time. So with that, jumping back, what are some of the things that a virtual assistant can do for you? Well, for one, we have all our virtual assistants do all the marketing, because marketing is just a repeatable function, right? If you're going to send direct mail, you need to pull a list and you need to contact the mail house and you need to have, the postcard, and you need to upload that list to the mail house and send out the direct mail, right? Super simple. You can repeat that process every time. If you're going to do cold calling, you got to buy a list. You got to skip trace the list, and then you got to plug that list into a caller, and somebody's got to dial, right? A VA can do that. If you're going to do text message marketing, you got to buy a list, you got to skip trace it, and then you got to push that list into a texting platform and let the VA run the text. That all can be done by a virtual assistant. If you decide to do that yourself, and you can pay a virtual assistant between $4 and $6 an hour, but you decide to do all that work yourself. One, you're going to be busy. And at the end of the week, you're going to put 30 to 40 hours in and do the job of doing all the marketing. But if you can hire a VA to do the same thing, then you really decided that your time was only worth $4 an hour. If you decide to do a job that could be hired out for $4 an hour, you've determined that your value is $4 an hour. So we give all that repeatable process stuff done to a VA. So in my business, the marketing, we do direct mail, we do cold calling, we do text message marketing, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. And that marketing generates leads. Okay. So then leads come in. Now, I built a very cool Podio system. I call it Podio Powerhouse. It's got 56 automations to it. I put a lot of money. I put about $100,000 of my own money into that Podio system. I actually offer that for sale now. You can buy my Podio system. It doesn't cost anywhere near $100,000. Pretty cheap, really. But then those leads come into my Podio system. So then my team, a lead manager, again, I've automated the whole process here. So VAs do the marketing, leads come in through Podio, lead manager sees the leads, lead manager sorts the leads. Okay. So if you sort a lead, here's what I mean. So if a lead comes in and the house is worth $100,000 and the seller owes nothing and the seller's asking $90,000, is that a good lead? Well, yeah, because it's worth 100. They owe nothing. Even though they're asking 90, that doesn't mean you can't offer less and negotiate the price down. So that's a good lead. So we would hand that lead off to the next stage, which would be an acquisitions person. Now, again, I did all the jobs in my company at one time, but I don't do any of them now. So I hire an acquisition person. That acquisition person picks up the phone and calls that lead and negotiates the deal. Now, let's say they make an offer and they get it under contract. Well, now that house is under contract. You got to find a cash buyer for that. So now we have a dispositions person who then, that's a different person. Dispositions is super simple, just means selling. So then that disposition person takes that lead and sends that lead out to our cash buyers list and gets the house sold. Then it's under contract with both. It sells. The title company handles all those details with the two contracts, or if it's an assignment deal, and it closes and we make money. And that's really, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it really is, the process is really that simple, and all of it can be done without my help. Very simple.
What are some things that you feel like are ahead for Matt, maybe 5 or 10 years from now?
That's a really good question. And, there's a lot of buzz going around right now about, is the market going to crash? Like, it's just hot as hot can be. Like, every market is hot. This particular lake house that I'm in right now, I bought this house in November. I used to live on the other side of the lake. I sold that one, made a big profit, rolled it into this one. And I bought this house in November. I paid a little under $500,000 for it. And now it was worth more than $500,000 when I bought it. I sent a letter to every single owner on this lake, every single one. We pulled a list and I mailed everybody a letter, and I was able to buy this house for a great price. But this house has gone up $200,000 in value since I bought it 5 months ago. But that's not normal. So the question is what's happening? Like, where's this market going to be? Where are we going to be a year from now? Where are we going to be 2 years? When's the market going to crash? So I get that a lot. To answer your question, I'll be honest with you, I don't set a lot of 5 and 10 year goals. I'm busy with my 6 month, 90 days, 30 days, 90 days, 6 month and 1 year goals. I don't think out that far, because every time I do, I'm wrong. I like to focus a little shorter term, but to answer your question, I'll always be in real estate. I'll always be doing deals. I love business. I love entrepreneurship. I just love the art of buying and selling and all that stuff. So in 5 or 10 years, I'll still be doing that. Might be on a little bit bigger level. I'll be less involved and my team will be running the whole thing. I do some apartment deals. I do commercial on occasion. I just flipped a warehouse that's closing on Monday, a big warehouse building, flipped a Buffalo Wild Wings restaurant building. And so I've done all kinds of that cool stuff. So I might do a little more of that. We'll see. I made some heavy moves during that last downturn and I backed that down a little bit as far as what I keep when the market went up. A lot of investors are like me. They make a big move during the downturn and they buy properties for pennies on the dollar. And then we wait for the market to go back up and resell. Yeah. So I don't know exactly how to answer that question. I know I'll be in real estate. I know I'll be doing a lot of deals. I don't know to what level. I want to see what the market's going to do. And that determines my strategy from there.
That does answer the question and gives me an idea as to where you see things going. And reality is, none of us know what would happen 5 years from now. Is Bitcoin even going to become the currency or 10 years from now?
We don't know what'll happen.
We don't.
The best part about being an entrepreneur is you want to be an entrepreneur that's flexible, right? I mean, you want to spot opportunity. Right. The biggest message I'll tell everybody is don't corner yourself into being a real estate investor only. Right. There's a lot of different things we can do. There's a lot of businesses. Real estate is a great business, not only to generate long-term cash flow, but to do short-term flips, wholesaling, and make a lot of money. But then you got to do something with the money, right? Mm-hmm. Look for opportunities. If there's an opportunity, then go with that opportunity. I remember I bought a whole bunch of silver in 2010, because it went to $4 or $5 an ounce. So I bought a whole bunch and then it went up to $45 an ounce and I sold it. And so I look for those opportunities too. That's the fun part. I've also done some of that and lost a ton of money. I lost money in the stock market. You can't be afraid to take some risks. There's risks, there's good things and bad things that can happen, but that's the fun part of playing the game. You're going to have some bad quarters.
So I usually ask all my guests for 3 tips that have helped them hit real estate home runs. I guess we can share that. Not cornering ourselves as real estate investors. It could be one. Do you have any other 2 that you would like to add?
Yeah. Some of the biggest things is don't try to do all the little things that you're not good at or that you don't enjoy doing. I enjoy real estate because I only do the parts I like. Okay. So you can hire out the things that you're not good at or you don't like to do. Like, for example, we use virtual assistants for that. So imagine getting up and got 10 things on your list that you need to do that day, and 8 of them you just are dreading. You're just never going to do them to your full capabilities, and you're not going to enjoy life at the same time. So get rid of those things and push those off to somebody else. I would say that's one thing. And 2, I would say marketing. Real estate investors are marketers, right? You've got to get good at marketing. You got to bring in leads. You got to find houses nobody else knows about, right? And so if you can always focus on marketing, if you can focus on the opportunities at hand and you focus on getting yourself out of the day-to-day stuff that you don't like to do, you'll make a lot more money and you'll be a lot more happy.
Awesome. How can people stay in contact with you, learn what you're doing, what you're up to?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Real Estate Matt. I have a website called realestatematt.com as well. And if you send me a message on Instagram, it's really me. That's the one thing that I haven't put a virtual assistant on. If you send me a message on Instagram, I'll answer you. I promise. I always answer all my messages and it'll be really me on the other end. So if you want to get a hold of me, feel free.
Awesome. Hey, Matt, it was a pleasure connecting with you and just hearing about all these golden nuggets. I thank you for your time.
I appreciate you inviting me on. I enjoyed the time with you as well.
One very last thing. Is there a question that if you were in my shoes that I missed or maybe should have asked someone like yourself?
Question maybe you didn't ask. Man, you asked so many good questions when you took so many routes. No, I think you covered it. I think you did an amazing job. I think we covered all the fun stuff. I like to tell stories. So
perfect. Yeah. I like to keep these podcasts more as a conversation too. So it's not robotic. And
I bet. Yeah, that's the way to do it. I'm a storyteller and we got to tell some stories today. So that makes me happy.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, you have a great day.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this interview and got some value out of it to help you in your real estate investing journey. If you can take just a minute, please do us a favor and leave a review. Hit the like button on iTunes or whatever platform you listen to our podcast on, and subscribe so you can hear future episodes. Also, don't forget to check out our Real Estate Home Runs Podcast Community Facebook group, where you are able to connect with some great listeners. If you're an investor who is crushing it and want to share some information centered around passive income in real estate, please contact us. Hit those home runs, and we will see you next time.